So this Sunday's Phoenix Championship race is going to signify a lot of things. You know, it's going to mean a lot of things. You know, the end of the Gen 6, the end of the 758 horsepower races, the end of teams building their cars from the ground up with the Gen 7 coming up and changing everything to make it a level playing field. I wonder how long it will be until HMS and JGR both pull away from the rest of the field along with Penske. So with that, also the end of it will also be the final time we see 5 lug nut pit stops in the Cup Series. When for this race, it also could potentially be the final ride for the Rocket Man Ryan Newman, as his future in the Cup Series remains unknown. And same deal with Matt DiBenedetto, could be his final time in the Cup Series for the time being. And of course, it's also the last ride for Chip Ganassi Racing and Starcom Racing, with both shutting down at the end of the year. But of course, this race, though, it signifies one thing: the end of an era in the Cup Series, with the Gen 7 on the horizon in 2022, and 2022 going to be a whole lot different. And of course, this week also being the final time we see traditional practicing and qualifying, when next year both practice and qualifying will be on the same days for most races. So yeah, it's the end of an era, and I think it's only fitting that this era ends and we get ushered into a new one, as we have this era end off the right way in the Cup Series, with the most historic rivalry in the sport deciding the championship: Hendrick Motorsports versus Joe Gibbs Racing. Let me just explain this rivalry real quick. This rivalry is very deep. Like, this rivalry is NASCAR's equivalent of the Yankees versus the Red Sox. It's NASCAR's equivalent of Lakers versus the Celtics. It's NASCAR's equivalent of the Green Bay Packers versus the Chicago Bears. It's NASCAR's equivalent of the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Montreal Canadiens. And it's NASCAR's equivalent of Michigan versus the Ohio State. It's a rivalry that goes very deep. And we have 2 drivers from each stable that are going to do a 4-man, that are going to do a duel to the death in the desert to decide the 2021 championship. And who will walk out as the NASCAR heavyweight champion. We also got a championship battle in the ARCA West this weekend, along with the Xfinity and Trucks. So, of course, we're going to go over Xfinity Trucks and the Cup Final Fours, and I'll give my preview on them. So, how about we go ahead and we're going to start this off with the Truck Series Final Four presenting. So, let's take a look at the Truck Series Final Four and talk about their seasons and how they got here. So, of course, we have John Hunter Nemechek. Now, of course, when John Hunter Nemechek left the Cup Series after having 1 season at Front Row, John Hunter Nemechek made an interesting career choice where he would choose to restart his career from scratch by going back all the way down to the Truck Series. This time he would go with one of the top teams in the sport and the Truck Series in Kyle Busch Motorsports. Now, when Kyle Busch brought him over, this was definitely high risk, high reward. And this honestly showed some outright desperation from Kyle Busch, because Kyle Busch knew that this was on him if John Hunter Nemechek was not as good as advertised in trucks. And if this signing did not go through well, it would probably be the end of KBM. Well, the good news is that this signing ended up being one of the best things to happen to KBM in a long time. Because John Hunter Nemechek has really performed well and up to his expectations. I mean, when he came up in the Truck Series, he was mainly with his dad's team in Joe Nemechek's Truck Series team in Nemco. Then he went to Xfinity to GMS for a couple years. That really was pretty meh. Then in the Cup Series, he was stuck in a shitbox team in Front Row Motorsports. And really had a couple of good runs in there, and that really outperformed his equipment on a number of occasions. And now he's back in the Truck Series. And for KBM. And with KBM, Nemechek's had a career year, a breakout season. And now he finally gets to compete for that Truck Series championship that has eluded him. So, of course, on Nemechek, he's really been the class of the field all year. He's been very fast all season. Like, no matter what kind of track it is, he's been fast everywhere. Now, to Chase, though, he's been a bit quiet. Like, the first 2 races, he had issues at Gateway. He finished second to Sheldon Creed at Darlington. And then he probably should have won Bristol. He more than likely would have won that race if he didn't have team orders to let Chandler Smith by. And then, yeah, Vegas, and then Talladega happened where he tried to come down on Fogelman. But other than that, and then, of course, keep in mind, Nemechek almost missed this Final Four last week when Nemechek got fucked over by Austin Wayne Self being a fucking dumbass. But despite all that, Nemechek was able to run well and build a big enough gap to stay ahead of the cut line. Since Nemechek had all season to get enough bonus points to keep himself out of that position, and he just made it in by the skin of his teeth. So, of course, Nemechek's been fast, and I say the one thing that would really help John Hunter Nemechek's comeback, his restart, his career revitalization or rejubilation, whatever wording you want to use for it, a championship would really speak volumes to and really could shine the light on his career. He will be in the Truck Series, though, next year at KBM, because John Hunter Nemechek mainly said he wanted to stay with a team for more than 1 year for once, since every other team Nemechek has been with, excluding his dad's team, Nemechek has only been with those teams for only 1 season, because he was with GMS for a year. Then he was with Front Row Motorsports for a year, and so on. See, I can understand that, and a lot of people said the funding wasn't there for the Xfinity Series, maybe again in 2022. So yeah, John Hunter Nemechek, he's really easily the best driver in the Truck Series field by a landslide. Another championship would speak great volumes to Nemechek, and could help open his career back up and another good opportunity in the future. But will Nemechek get that opportunity? Because usually when you drop all the way down to Trucks and Xfinity, you almost never get all the way back up the Cup. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens with John Hunter Nemechek in the future. Now for the next driver on this list, Ben Rhodes. Now, Ben Rhodes started this season off like a bat out of hell, winning the first 2 races of the season. And then he had a little bit of a pissy match with Sheldon Creed at the Daytona Roval. And to be honest, Rhodes really did nothing wrong. That was a racing deal, and I guess Creed just got all up in his feels. And really, other than that was only been his only wins of the season. Ben Rhodes, though, he's been very quietly consistent. Like, his consistency has been up there with Nemechek. Just he hasn't been able to keep up with Nemechek's speed all season. But Ben Rhodes, despite it all, he was still able to be consistent when it mattered the most. And here he is in the championship. And keep in mind here, in last year's Final Four race, Ben Rhodes was the guy that got caught underneath Brett Moffitt's quarter panel on the final restart and cost Brett Moffitt the championship last year in a way. But this time, Ben Rhodes now has a shot at the title. And I know if Ben Rhodes wins this title, a lot of salt will be produced from it. Like, I've never been one of the biggest Ben Rhodes fans in the world, but he's definitely an aggressive driver for sure. I mean, for Ben Rhodes' career, a Truck Series title would speak great volumes. It could open the door up for more opportunities for him in the future. He'll have his work cut out for him, but he knows how to get it done. So he could if there's anyone, though, that could beat Nemechek, it would definitely be Rhodes. Next up on the list is Matt Crafton. So Matt Crafton's back in the Final Four, and he has a shot now to win his record 5th Truck Series championship. Of course, we all know what happened the last time Matt Crafton was in the Final Four. It was with 0 wins, and we all know what happened. Matt Crafton ended up exposing the chase grid format for how much of a gimmick it was. When Matt Crafton was able to win the championship without winning a single race in a playoff gimmick format that is designed to put a bigger emphasis on winning. And Matt Crafton in 2019 won 0 races and had the second worst average finish at 13.3. And somehow people wanted to defend it and said, oh yeah, that is grounds for a Truck Series champion. But Matt Crafton, he's now back in this again, this time with no wins. So the question is, will Matt Crafton end up becoming a winless champion twice? Or does Matt Crafton win the finale when it matters the most? But yeah, And of course, if Matt Crafton wins, he would end up becoming one of the winningest drivers in the Truck Series, winning a 5th title, which would end his long tie with Ron Hornaday for most Truck Series titles in the Truck Series at 4. But Matt Crafton, can he do it? Can he do what he did in 2019 again? Or does he win the finale when it mattered the most? But yeah, does Crafton expose the format again? Actually, let's be honest though. Even if Matt Crafton does win the title again without winning a race, that won't get rid of the format. We tried it in 2019, and the format's still here. In fact, NASCAR decided the best way to respond to Matt Crafton exposing the format was to expand the Truck Series field by 2 more drivers to make it go from 8 to 10. So their solution was literally have the same thing play out again, but this time with someone even more irrelevant. But of course, I talked about this a few years ago. Just look at my NASCAR videos playlist and you'll find it in there. When I talked about this race. Because that Truck Series race got its own review. And now we get to the final driver here. Zane Smith. So Zane Smith, he had battled a lot of adversity this year. Of course, he entered Martinsville in a 50-point hole. Was it 50? Yeah, it was 40 points, but still, he was in a must-win hole regardless. But Zane Smith, he was able to get the job done in Martinsville, being really aggressive, forcing 3 wide at Martinsville. That pretty much took out Stuart Friesen and Todd Gilliland from the lead. But he was able to be aggressive and get the job done when it mattered the most. And here's Zane Smith, and Amos had his back against the wall last week. And now Zane Smith has a shot at championship. And for Zane Smith, he really needs to drive his ass off this week because his career might be on the line this Sunday. I mean, this weekend or Friday, since the truck race is Friday. Since Zane Smith's future in the Truck Series is unknown, with Zane Smith set to become a free agent at the end of the year, which I find pretty kind of weird that Zane Smith doesn't have a ride for next year. But I know one thing for sure, a Truck Series championship would help race his stock up for any team looking to cash in on the sweepstakes for him. Or maybe Zane Smith looks at finding a ride in Xfinity. I mean, no, if he gets a Truck Series championship, that would help his value and to get him a good ride. Hopefully he gets a good ride in either trucks or a decent ride in Xfinity next year. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. But Zane Smith, he's been quietly consistent, somewhat. Like, he's been hit or miss because, you know, it's a Truck Series. Yeah. Less said about it, the better. But Zane Smith has a shot to finally win a championship. Zane Smith came close to winning the title last year, but he fell 1 spot short to his teammates Sheldon Creed. This time, though, Zane Smith won't have to deal with his teammate this time, but he's got 3 equal good drivers ahead of him in this. So, out of these 4, Nemechek, Rhodes, Crafton, and Zane Smith, who wins the Truck Series championship? So, this is definitely an interesting Final 4 for sure, though. But in the end, though, realistically, I think this championship is really between Nemechek and Rhodes. I think Matt Crafton, he just won't have the speed to keep up with both of them. And I really don't see Crafton pulling a 2019 again. I feel like lightning will not strike twice here. And I think Zane Smith's, his uncertainty and being in a lame duck situation, I think that could play a distraction and really affect him in this race. But yeah, and he really hasn't had the speed to keep up with the likes of Nemechek or Rhodes at the end. So I think it's realistically between Nemechek and Rhodes. Like Rhodes has had the consistency to keep up with him. But I feel like that speed's going to be too much. And even though Nemechek really hasn't done anything spectacular in this chase so far, except for his winning the Xfinity race at Texas, I feel like Nemechek is going to show out here. I feel like Nemechek's been waiting for this moment. I feel like it's kind of like Kyle Busch's 2019 Cup Series title run, when Kyle Busch did jack shit in the chase, but managed to make the Final 4, and then Kyle Busch showed up at Homestead. And I feel like that's where Nemechek has been. I say Nemechek does indeed win the 2021 championship this year. I feel like Nemechek's been waiting for this moment, and I think Nemechek gets it done and wins the 2021 Truck Series championship. I think he is going to show out at Phoenix and really show why he is a deserving champion. But yeah, those are the 4. That's my Truck Series Chase Grid preview. Now it's time to go on and present the Xfinity Series Final Four. So here is the Xfinity Series Final Four here, so let's talk about all four of these drivers. So first off, we have Austin Cindric. The reigning Xfinity Series champion is back to defend his crown in his last dance in the Xfinity Series before Austin Cindric goes up to the Cup Series next year to drive the 2 car for Penske Racing, replacing Brad Keselowski, with Keselowski going to Roush Fenway next year. So, of course, Austin Cindric, really this year, Austin Cindric really picked back up where he left off to end last year. And Cindric's been fast everywhere. He's been fast on every kind of track, whether it's a super speedway, a short track, an oval, an intermediate track, or a road course, you name it. He's been fast all around. Like this year, like last year, he really had a breakout year and took steps. This year, he's really developed into an all-around great driver. You know, you look at his wins, you know, he also did win the Phoenix race earlier in the season. So Cindric knows how to get it done, especially at Phoenix, with Cindric winning the last 2 Phoenix races. But can Cindric do it one last time and go back-to-back? Because keep in mind, only a handful of drivers in Xfinity have won back-to-back titles. You know, names like Sam Ard. You also look at names like, who else? You know, Randy Woodjoy, I believe. There's also been Dale Jr.'s won back-to-back. Truex has won back-to-back. You also have Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who won back-to-back titles. And the last driver to win back-to-back titles in Xfinity was Tyler Reddick a few years ago. So can Cindric join that list of drivers to win back-to-back Xfinity titles? Or will Cindric fall short again? But one thing for sure is that his future definitely is 100% bright. And say whatever you want about him being the Tim Cindric son and being the son of one of the team owners at the team. Cindric, in the end of the day, he proved how talented he truly is and that he has earned his opportunity. And that he's made the most of it without a shadow of a doubt. Now to the next driver on this list, AJ Allmendinger. Man, it's crazy how different AJ's career has looked from where it was a decade ago. You know, a decade ago, AJ was living the dream in the Cup Series, driving for Penske Racing. And then AJ's career really hit rock bottom when he would fail a random drug test and would be suspended indefinitely. He would lose his ride at Penske Racing, which would eventually go to Joey Logano. Allmendinger, when he ended up having to do the road to recovery program, he would successfully complete it to be reinstated by NASCAR. And then Allmendinger effectively had to restart his career from scratch. He would end up going to a shipmobile team at Phoenix Racing. Then he would go to a mediocre crapmobile team at JTG Daugherty. But he would do some things at JTG. He was able to get JTG a win in 2014 at Watkins Glen and make the inaugural Chase Grid. And he was out in the first round. And then after that, he really went about as high as his equipment would let him. And then after 2018, he was out of the Cup Series. You know, the last 2 years, he was able to have part-time rides in Xfinity for Colleague Racing, and he got some wins. Mainly on road courses. But I think really one race that really opened a lot of eyes on Allmendinger's true talent was when he won Atlanta last year. When he got his first ever win in NASCAR in a NASCAR sanctioned series on an oval. Which really shocked some people, because for the longest time we've always reviewed AJ Allmendinger as more of a road course racer. And then he all of a sudden went to an oval, and it's like, what? Where was this AJ the entire time? And then AJ Allmendinger would get a full-time ride at a top team in Xfinity at Colleague. And AJ Allmendinger this year, I think AJ really has had easily the best year of his entire career. You know, having 5 wins. You know, he's won 2 road course races. Yeah, 2 road course races at Mid-Ohio and the Roval and Charlotte. And he also has a number of oval wins. You know, he won Las Vegas. He also won Michigan this year. And he also won that thrilling Bristol night race in Xfinity with him and Austin Cindric spinning coming to the start-finish line and wrecking out. But AJ was able to cross the line first and get the win. So AJ Allmendinger really has shown that how good of an overall racer he is. And of course, one thing that could really eclipse AJ's career is that AJ could finally win a NASCAR championship in a NASCAR sanctioned series of any kind. Maybe win that title that has long eluded him. Can AJ Allmendinger finally do it? Or was a championship just not meant to be for Allmendinger? At least AJ will go down, though, as the best road course racer in the Xfinity Series history. So now, next up, we have Noah Gragson. So yeah, Noah Gragson. Now, I know a lot of people were viewing Noah as a bust at first. But this year for Noah Gragson really lived up to his expectations. The season for him got off to a very rough start. Like, he had a lot of bad luck. Like, he had like 3, 4, 5, like he DNF'd to like 3 or 4 of the first 5 races. Like, he was just snake bitten by luck, especially at Homestead when he had the race in the bag until a lab car came up in front of him, blowing a tire and wrecked Gragson out. It took Gragson a while, though, but Gragson was able to get wins, and he got his wins at the right time when he won the second Darlington race on Labor Day weekend. And then he won Richmond on 9/11. So, Noah Gragson, he did enter this chase as the hottest driver in entering Xfinity Chase, winning 2 of the last 3 regular season races. And really, in Xfinity Chase, he's really been very inconsistent. He's been very consistent. Well, other than his Talladega crash and then Kansas crash, that was more Sam Mayer misjudging the gap between him and Harrisonburg, and Noah just happened to be an innocent bystander in that. But of course, even though Noah Gragson's back was against the wall, Noah Gragson was able to step up to the plate at Martinsville, and Noah Gragson was able to get the job done and battle the adversity and win at Martinsville. Hell, even in the pre-race for Martinsville, he even called his shots, guaranteeing he would win the race. And Noah Gragson was able to back it up. And the most impressive part of his 3 wins, he was able to win all 3 races clean and fair and square without wrecking anybody. Because remember when Thrash Maniac and Kamikaze Games were running their mouths about how Noah Gragson was a dirty driver and a talentless hack and that he couldn't win clean and that he could only win by wrecking people? Well, to say that quote didn't age well for Thrash Maniac is a massive understatement. Hell, if I go in his comment section now and look at every comment in there that said this didn't age well, if I had a dime for every one of them, I'd probably have 100 dimes at the end of the night. But yeah, Noah Gragson really has stepped up this year and really has lived up to expectations. And of course, on Noah Gragson going to be back in Xfinity next year. His Cup future, it really depends on what happens here. I know a lot of fans could want him at HMS. There have been the rumors about Junior Motorsports potentially going to Cup in maybe 2023 or sometime in the future, maybe. But then again, it depends on the charter system since the system's so fucked up. But if Junior Motorsports ever does go to the Cup Series, I imagine Noah Gragson is easily a shoo-in for that Junior Motorsports Cup ride, without a shadow of a doubt. Now, really, Noah Gragson has really become very passionate and has a lot of personality. Talladega, he was a good spirit despite getting T-boned at Dega. With his spirit, putting the bead necklace on and saying he was going to the Dega infield. No, now whether Gragson went to the Talladega infield and saw a butthole or not is yet to be seen. And of course, after Martinsville, after Gragson climbed the catch fence, a fan tossed him a beer, and Gragson then shotgunned the beer in front of the crowd. Yes, if the Giga Chad meme was a NASCAR driver, it would 100% need Noah Gragson. But to be perfectly honest, I never really understood the hate for Noah Gragson. I know a lot of people I heard a lot of different answers for Gragson about why people hated him. Some saying he's mediocre. He's a rich boy. That's pretty much like almost every Xfinity driver or young driver nowadays. Everyone's saying they hate him because of his dad's DUI history. Let's be real, that his dad being a drunk idiot, that has nothing to do to reflect on Noah Gragson. To be honest, Noah Gragson's personal life should never affect his professional life at all. And then there was the whole thing where fans were pissed about him wrecking Allgaier at Bristol last year. Let me be real, that was kind of more like a hard racing incident gone wrong because Allgaier left the gap open for Gragson and Gragson took it, and then Allgaier just lost control of his car. But I think Gragson this year, I know a lot of the haters, He probably redeemed himself, definitely, for sure. Some of his antics could be questionable, but I'll say this, though. It took a while, though, but Gragson has really grown on and has easily become my favorite Xfinity driver. Like, the passion and enthusiasm it brings, it's the type of passion and enthusiasm we need in this damn sport. Instead of having stale, boring drivers that sound like goddamn cyborgs and shit. And Gragson really shown it behind his wheel. I know one thing for sure. I just wonder what kind of post-race celebration he would have if he ends up winning the Xfinity title. I mean, if he wins the Xfinity title, I wonder if he's going to chug down beers like Stone Cold Steve Austin. That would be kind of funny as hell to see, and that would actually be pretty badass. But yeah, and of course, now, let's lead away right into the final Xfinity driver in the Final Four. Daniel Hemric. I'll be honest, the last spot I had in my Chase Grid prediction video was between Allgaier or Hemric. Hemric was my next choice after Allgaier. It was between one of those two. I was gonna end up choosing the two drivers that usually get fucked over by bad luck. We'll just say in the end I chose poorly by taking Allgaier. As the racing gods somewhat smiled on Hemric here. Because, I'll admit here, the racing gods are fucking mixed. Like, they're cruel bastards, but they could be fucking helpful too. Because, like, Hemric, I don't know how the hell Daniel Hemric hasn't had a career win yet in Xfinity. Like, this man has come so close so many goddamn times to winning a race, but can never finish the deal. Like, he's been in so many positions, but can never finish it. Which is so goddamn heartbreaking for him. Like, seriously, 10 second place finishes without a win. How the hell can you not have a win at this point? Like, it's just so fucking crazy. How Hemric just gets snake bitten by so much bad luck. Whether it just be circumstance or just wrong place at the wrong time. Like, Hemric, he looked like last week he was in position to win Martinsville, and then Justin Haley spins out from his brakes failing. And then on the second last restart, Noah Gragson just happened to have a better restart on the outside over Hemric. It seems like no matter what Hemric does, no matter how much he plays by the book, he just can't seem to get it done. Like, this man seems cursed. But Daniel Hemric, though, maybe Hemric could end up making a funny, and maybe Hemric could finally get his first career win at Phoenix Sunday. And it would be pretty ironic if his first career win ends up leading to his first championship. Or maybe Daniel Hemric ends up finishing second in the season finale and wins the title. And then we get a true winless champion in Xfinity. And before anyone says Austin Dillon 2013, that doesn't really count as a true winless champion. Because Austin Dillon had 2 career wins prior to that. I'm talking about a driver in Xfinity winning a championship without winning a single Xfinity race. In a format designed to put a bigger emphasis on winning. The question is for Xfinity. Are we going to have a winless champion? Are we going to have a repeat of the Truck Series in 2019? Or is Gragson, Allmendinger, or Cindric finally going to win the title? All that and much more will be answered Saturday night. So out of these 4, who will win the title? So this Xfinity Final Four is pretty interesting. Like, I think all 4 you can make a solid argument for Phoenix, as all 4 are pretty good at Phoenix. Like, Gragson almost won this race a year ago until the last turn when Cindric was able to get past him on that final turn. And Cindric has won the last 2 races here. AJ's been good almost everywhere. And Hemric has been good at Phoenix, but he's just been snake bitten by bad luck. So this is a pretty even matchup, and you can make an argument for all 4. Like, easily, though, the championship for most of this year has been between Cindric and Allmendinger. But as we've seen under this format before, the best driver all season does not end up usually winning the championship under this format. And keep this in mind, though. The 54 car is in the Final Four for the Owners' Championship, being driven by John Hunter Nemechek. And in case you're wondering, for the Xfinity Final Four, I do not have the champion winning the season finale at Phoenix. I have the race being won by John Hunter Nemechek. So I think this year's champion is going to end up finishing second in the season finale at Phoenix and will win the title. So I do not think the champion wins the finale this year. So, honestly, though, I'm going to be real, though. A small part of me wants Noah Gragson to win this championship because the amount of salt it would produce on Twitter from all the fucking Gragson haters, especially Kamikaze Games at Thrash Maniac 99, it would be enough to last a couple lifetimes. Like, the salt would be so delicious to enjoy, and plus I want to see what kind of beer celebration Noah Gragson would do, to be perfectly honest. It would be pretty badass. But that's probably not gonna happen. But the one scenario I think is gonna happen, I'm gonna go for it, because you know what? Fuck it. You only live once. I'm taking Daniel Hemrick to win the championship at Phoenix. I think Hemrick is gonna finish second, and I think he's going to win the Xfinity Championship without winning a single race in his entire career. In a format designed to put a bigger emphasis on winning, I think we're going to have a winless champion in Xfinity. I say Hemrick will finish second in the season finale at Phoenix and will win the title. I think the racing gods will smile on him for just this one race and will give Hemrick at least something to enjoy in his career. Plus, the memes from this would be fucking endless. I kind of want this one to happen for the memes, goddammit, because it would actually be pretty funny as hell. And it would really expose this format again. But let's be real, we already tried a winless champion in Truxton 2 years ago, and it didn't get rid of the format, so it probably won't get rid of the format. I think the only way you'll get rid of this format is if a driver that doesn't win, that's not in the championship, wrecks out someone that is. Or vice versa. I think that's the only way you would ever get rid of the Chase Grid format. But yeah, I'm going to go Daniel Hemrick to win the 2021 Xfinity Championship. And will become the first true winless champion in NASCAR history across all three series. But now, it's time to go to the Cup Series Final Four. So for the Cup Series Final Four, I'm going to do things a little different. For this one, I'm going to go through each driver one by one and give my analysis on each one's season. So for the Cup Series Final Four, we're going to do one by one for each. So, of course, I'm the first driver we're going to start off with, hailing from Hendrick Motorsports, from Dawsonville, Georgia. So the reigning, defending Cup Series heavyweight champion is back to defend his crown, Chase Elliott. Or as you see on the screen, his full name. So yeah, Chase Elliott, he's back to defend this title. And you look at his season this year, it's almost effectively the same season as last year. Almost same consistency. And you look at his team this year, it's about roughly the same. To be perfectly honest though, Chase Elliott honestly should have a lot more wins this year. But this team has just found every single conceivable way to throw a race away. Whether it be off bad luck, or whether it be the 9 team shooting themselves in the foot, or the 9 team getting in numerous pissing matches. You name it. This team just finds every conceivable way to throw a race away. But of course, through all that though, Chase Elliott has been able to make it back into the Final Four and has a shot to go back to back. So of course, the lead honcho on this putt box, of course, is Alan Gustafson, calling the shots once again. And of course, Chase Elliott once again proving that he's still good enough to get the job done, of course. You know, he has 2 wins, and both of them under the 750 package, but however, both those wins have come on road courses at like COTA and at Road America on the 4th of July weekend. He honestly should have had a lot more wins this year too, you know, at races like the Charlotte Roval, until he got in that pissing match with Harvick. But of course, Chase Elliott fans got great glory when they saw Harvick smash himself into the wall. And then of course, Chase Elliott sold an assload of Merry Off-Season and Happy Christmas t-shirts. And honestly, Chase should have won at the Roval, but then a number of things happened where we had a phantom rain caution, followed by Chase Elliott's pit crew shooting themselves in the foot, and then the 9 team just being unable to get back up there and then getting dumped by Hamlin late in the race. But despite it all, Chase Elliott has been able to make it all the way back into the Final Four. And of course, there were many questions about if Chase Elliott was even going to make it here, especially after he got in a pissing match with Kevin Harvick. But despite it all, Chase Elliott was able to battle the adversity, and Chase now has a shot to win his 2nd championship. And of course, there are a lot of narratives Chase would crush, you know. if Chase did win this title. You know, the whole narrative is about, oh, how Chase's title last year was a Mickey Mouse championship. I want to be perfectly honest, I don't see anything really Mickey about it, because everyone competed under the same rules last year. And really, Chase competed in all 36 races, so it's really hard to see how that was a Mickey Mouse championship. I think the only reason the Mickey Mouse meme came in was because everyone was talking about it for the NBA title and the NH Stanley Cup title last year. Being in shortened seasons, the same deal for the World Series. But, you know, Chase Elliott could have some motivation to go back-to-back, especially since his Atlanta Braves are on the verge of winning the World Series. But, of course, then there's the other narrative about how Chase Elliott only won the title last year because Kyle Larson wasn't in the sport last year. And I know one thing for sure. A second championship would crush a lot of those narratives to rest. But let's be real, Chase Elliott fans. I know there's one man you want to beat in the Final Four. One man that has made you his bitch this year. And it's going to be the next man we talk about. It's the man you want to beat for the title. And it's the man Chase Elliott needs to beat for the title. Because the next driver we're going to talk about, hailing also out of Hendrick Motorsports from Elk Grove, California. Holy sweet mother of shit. It is crazy to think how much a difference a year can make. Like, if you told me a year ago when Kyle Larson first signed with Hendrick Motorsports that Larson was going to have an breakout year and just scorch the living earth of NASCAR and have a 9-win season, I would have told you were fucking insane and asked what kind of bath salts you would be on. But yet, here we are. Because Larson this year, man, Larson really has been a man possessed. It seemed like ever since cancel culture failed to cancel him, and the cancel culture making a mistake and not putting a stake in Dracula's heart, Larson has been out for blood this year. Because Larson, it seems like no matter what the track is, no matter the 8 horsepower package or downforce package, it don't matter, Larson still finds a way to win. And it don't matter what kind of car he's in, whether it's in a cup car or a World of Outlaws car or a sprint car or a late model car, it don't matter, Larson still finds a way to dominate and win. Like, Larson just keeps winning. We expect Larson is going to have a struggle to start off his tenure. He keeps winning. We expect Larson to blow away races and choke like he did at Ganassi. He keeps winning. A lot of people expect Kyle Larson to be overrated and underperform and play second fiddle to Chase Elliott. You're wrong, because Larson keeps winning. We expect NASCAR's going to do everything they can to slow Larson down to try and not him bore the sport to death. He keeps winning. Larson just wins, and doesn't stop winning. Like, the man is just a race-winning machine. Because Larson's just been an absolute beast, you know. Easily the best driver in the sport this year by a country mile, and the best driver in the sport today. Like, Larson easily having a career year with 9 wins, you know. He's been fast everywhere we go, well, except for the super speedways. Then again, you know, super speedways are kind of a crapshoot, so, oh well. And to be perfectly honest, Larson's season has been so dominant, like, including the fact that Larson has now led the most laps in a 36-race season ever. And of course, Kyle Larson also setting an HMS record for most wins by a first-year HMS driver of 9, beating Tim Richmond's 1986 record of 7 wins. Like, Larson's just been an absolute fucking beast this year. And the one thing that would really cap off this breakout year, the icing on the cake, would definitely be a championship for Kyle Larson. On that trophy case of his, that's going to be pretty full in the near future. Especially with how he does this year, and imagine where he'll be in the future. Especially when him and Cliff Daniels figure this thing out. Because, of course, the head honcho on this team is Cliff Daniels, who has easily become one of the great crew chiefs in the sport today and one of the best all-around crew chiefs overall. Like, I feel like this tandem is going to become the next Chad Knaus, Jimmy Johnson. That's how I feel like this tandem is. And here's the crazy thing. Cliff Daniels was with this team the last time they made the Final Four with Jimmy Johnson when he was Jimmy Johnson's car chief. or engineer, or I'm not sure which one it was. I believe it was either kart engineer, correct me if I'm wrong. So Cliff Daniels knows how to get it done in this type of situation. And of course, it's been a few years. But keep in mind, in this race last year with this car and team, Cliff Daniels was able to help Jimmie Johnson get a 5th place finish in Jimmie Johnson's final Cup race. And now he has Kyle Larson, the best driver in the sport. Just imagine what they can do with a car similar to what they had last year. They might probably go out and win the whole thing. And of course, though, Larson, on the 750 package, Larson has 5 of Larson's 9 wins have come on the 750 horsepower package. And of course, 3 of those were road course races, and the other 2 were ovals. And those ovals being Nashville and the Bristol night race. So Larson knows how to win and dominate. And the crazy thing about Larson is that he probably could have had more wins this year. He probably could have won almost half the schedule. Like, he was in position to win the Daytona Roval, and then he spun out late in the race and ended up in the wall. He could have won the first Atlanta race. And then team orders and manipulation from Penske and Larson burning his tires up led to Ryan Blaney catching him and passing him for the win. He probably would have won the Bristol dirt race if he didn't have to start at the back of the field. Because if you give Larson the lead on a dirt race, he'll be really damn hard to pass. He also dominated the first Kansas race, and then late race contact between him and Blaney sent him to the back. He even dominated the Dover race, and then a slow pit stop followed by Alex Bowman's pit crew having the fastest stop of the year happen. He more than likely would have won COTA if the race didn't stop because of rain, because Chase Elliott was not going to make it to the end on fuel. And you look at other races, like Kyle Larson even had the first Pocono race locked in the bag, and then he blew a tire in the last turn. Larson even dominated the Brickyard, and had that race won. And then a late race debris caution and Larson getting forced off the track by Denny Hamlin happened. Larson dominated Michigan with William Byron. And then Blaney had a great race restart to get ahead of both of them for the win. Larson even dominated the Southern 500, and then then a slow pit stop, and then poor strategy calling put him behind. Larson even dominated the early part of Las Vegas. In the second Vegas race, that is. And then bad pit strategy put him in a hole he couldn't dig out of. Like, the craziness, Larson's been that fast this year. That's how many more races he could have won this year. But 9 wins is still impressive. I know a lot of fans have complained about it, saying, oh, that 9 team is cheating. NASCAR is rigging it for Larson. Oh, why is Hendrick favoring Larson over Chase Elliott? And especially most of those coming from Chase Elliott fans being salty about Chase finishing second to Larson 4 times this year. In 5 instances of it. Let me just say this, folks. It's not Larson or Hendrick Motorsports' fault that your team is a poorly run shithole. That's your driver and team's own fault for not stepping up to the plate and challenging Larson. And it's obvious Larson's team ain't cheating because those cars have been legal as all hell. And they're still that fast. And let me be real about the whole cheating thing. Every team in the sport cheats. The only rule with cheating is don't get caught. Hell, go to your local short track and ask any driver or team, and they'll tell you if you ain't cheating, you ain't winning, or you ain't trying hard enough. But let me be real. I wasn't expecting this kind of season out of Kyle Larson after 1 year. I think this year at the bare most, I was expecting maybe 5 wins at the bare most. But to expect 9 wins? And this is only the first year that Larson and Cliff Daniels are together. Imagine how dominant this team could be in 3 to 5 years. Especially if they get ahead of the competition with the Gen 7 car. I think Larson could be on pace to break some of Jeff Gordon's records at HMS. He's broken a couple, so why not go the distance like Hercules? So yeah, this is easily Larson's championship to lose. I'll be honest here. For Larson, anything short of a title, I would consider a failure. It's title or bust. Because let me be real, all of Larson's records and all this year, all those records won't mean a thing if he doesn't win that reign. But yeah, I think we've really talked about Larson long enough. I think it's time to look at the other drivers. The next driver we're going to look at, hailing out of Joe Gibbs Racing from Marietta, New Jersey. So, of course, after the 2020 season for Martin Truex Jr., there was a narrative written on the wall after Truex's down year last year. Truex's success from 2015 to 2019 was all Cole Pearn. Truex was carried by Cole Pearn the entire time. I think Martin Truex Jr. heard a lot of that criticism and he took it personally. And Martin Truex Jr. has really had a bounce back year. Winning 4 races, as Truex is trying to prove that Cole Pearn was never responsible for his success, and that it was all Truex all along. Truex having 4 wins this year, all 4 being on the 750 package, and all 4 being on ovals, with Truex winning the Phoenix earlier this year, and then, of course, Truex winning at the first Martinsville race, the first Darlington race, the throwback race, and then the second Richmond race in the Chase on 9/11. And really, it didn't really look like, I didn't even know if Truex would even come close to making the Final Four this year. Especially the second half of the year when he really wasn't doing dickety shit. Especially after that Darlington when Truex's speed really fell off. But to be perfectly honest, from the looks of how Truex has been in the Chase, I think Martin Truex Jr. and this team, they treat the second half of the regular season like a test and tune session and intentionally sandbagged to try and get hot at the right time in the Chase. And boy, they sure did. Because the speed Truex had early in the year, they got it back in the Chase. And Truex has made the Final Four. So yeah, of course, let's be real. The narrative about Cole Pearn carrying Martin Truex Jr. the entire time, that's going to follow Martin Truex Jr. forever. The only way Martin Truex Jr. will ever get rid of it is winning a second championship. If Martin Truex Jr. can win a title this year, then it will prove that Cole Pearn was never responsible for Martin Truex Jr.'s success all along. And of course, Martin Truex Jr. was really, truly one of the most unlikely champions in 2017. He's been in this situation before and had done it. Of course, he won the title in 2017. He's been in this Final Four multiple times. A few of those times, he's always come up short. Including his last 2 trips where he finished second to the eventual champion. 2018 finishing second to Joey Logano, and then 2019 finishing second to Kyle Busch. But I feel like if there's a time for Truex to win the title, it would be now. Because Truex, it don't look like he has that many years left in the Cup Series, especially when he's in the early 40s. He's at that crossroads age where he won't be getting any better or younger. He's slowly going to get worse. So time's definitely running out for Martin Truex Jr. to win a second championship and squash those narratives about Cole Pearn carrying Truex the entire time at the last 5 years. And of course, says head honcho on the pit box, James Small, he's no stranger to this, because he was the engineer and car chief on Truex Jr.'s team in those championship runs with Cole Pearn. So James Small knows how to get it done, and he's really done a good job filling in for Cole Pearn when Cole Pearn suddenly left the sport. And there's definitely a lot of questions about Martin Truex Jr.'s future in the sport, especially with his girlfriend Sherry's battle with ovarian cancer and stuff. And personal life might take a toll. I say Martin Truex Jr., if Sherry ends up having issues, man, just take the time, man. You've proven you're a great driver. And now you're going to be a Hall of Famer one day. So yeah, your personal life should always come first, man. And of course, family comes first too. I think the fact that Martin Truex Jr. and Sherry Pollux are not married is kind of surprising. Because for the longest time, I thought those two were honestly married. But to find out that they were still dating, it's like, that's kind of weird. I always thought they were, but, you learn something new every day. But yeah, Martin Truex Jr. easily one of the top underrated drivers in the sport, and easily the most unlikely champion since Alan Kulwicki, without a doubt. But yeah, can Martin Truex Jr. win the championship again, or will he fall short like he did in 2018 and 2019? But there's one other driver at JGR that wants to have a shot at the title too. Because the final driver we're going to talk about, hailing out of JGR from Chesterfield, Virginia. Alright, Denny is 6th time the charm this time. So Denny Hamlin is now in his 6th shot at a championship in his career. He's had 5 previous attempts in 2006, 2010, 2014, 2019, and 2020. All of them have been L's. Is this finally the time Hamlin wins a championship? in his 16th season. Hamlin's come close many times, but has failed to get it done when it mattered the most. He's found every conceivable way to lose a title. Is this finally the time Hamlin gets it done? I mean, you look at Hamlin to start the year, he's been very consistent all year. He's easily been the next best driver behind Kyle Larson. But especially with how consistent he was keeping up with Larson throughout the year. And of course, we all know what Hamlin in the regular season. At one point in the regular season, Hamlin had a 150-point lead over Kyle Larson after the first Kansas race. And then Hamlin, the rest of the regular season, would end up choking that entire lead away, and Larson would end up snatching the regular season title away from him. Most of it was due to the pissing match between him and Chase Briscoe, when Hamlin forced Briscoe off the track in Indianapolis, and then Briscoe dumped Hamlin in retaliation. But of course, Hamlin didn't win a race until the first race of the chase at Darlington, when Hamlin took advantage of Kyle Larson's team's miscues in the Southern 500, and then Hamlin ended up winning at Las Vegas on better strategy and getting up front when it mattered the most. So Denny Hamlin got 2 wins in the chase, and of course, out of the 750 races, he only has 1 win on him this year, and that was Darlington. But Hamlin has experience winning at this track. Hamlin did win at Phoenix in 2019 2 years ago to make the Final Four at this track. Can Hamlin actually finally get it done and win at Phoenix? And I know if Hamlin does win, there are a lot of salty HMS fans that would be salty about it too. And a lot of fans would lose a punching bag over it, because if you look at Hamlin's legacy of failure in his career, it's kind of outright fucking depressing to look at it, because Hamlin's found every way to lose a championship. I mean, look at some of the competition Hamlin's went up against in his title years. Like Jimmy Johnson, the guy Hamlin lost the title to in 2006 and 2010, he's no longer in the sport. Kevin Harvick, the guy Hamlin lost the title to in 2014, he was knocked out in the round of 12. Kyle Busch, the guy Hamlin lost the title to in 2019, he didn't even make the Final Four and was knocked out in the round of 8. Like, the only guy Hamlin has lost to that's in the Final Four is Chase Elliott, who he lost the title to last year. And I have a lot to say about Denny Hamlin, too, and some of his antics so far this year. But I think I'm going to save that for the Hamlin Hate Week video. Like, you look at Hamlin so far the last few weeks, it looks like he's about to have a mental fucking breakdown. You know, of course, the start of the chase when his girlfriend and wife, Jordan Fish, left him shockingly out of nowhere. The details of that have never been revealed. Hamlin did briefly acknowledge it after Darlington, but Hamlin said he was not going to let his personal life affect how he drives. And Hamlin hasn't really had that affect him, because he was still able to make the Final Four. Admit, though, of course, getting controversy on the way and becoming now the most hated driver in the sport ahead of Kyle Busch. Like, if you are getting more hate than Kyle Busch, then you really, truly fucked up somewhere. But yeah, you look at Hamlin, it looks like he's about to mentally break. And if we've seen Hamlin in this type of situation before, Hamlin usually tends to collapse and fall apart and choke. So the question is, does Hamlin finally win a title and end that legacy of failure? Does he win that one trophy that's eluded him? Or does Hamlin add another painful chapter to his legacy of failure? And does he punch his fans in the dick in the process? I mean, this ends in one of 2 ways. Either Hamlin will end up becoming this era's version of Bobby Allison, or Hamlin will end up making a very strong case the greatest driver to never win a championship. And keep this in mind, Hamlin's at age 40. He's at the crossroads of his career. He's at that age where he will tend to slowly get worse. So for Hamlin if Hamlin wants to win a title, his time is quickly running out. And this could be one of his best last chances, especially with the uncertainty of the Gen 7 car. I mean, hey, I think Hamlin should be bound to win one eventually, right? I mean, Ash Ketchum was able to win a Pokemon tournament. Clayton Kershaw was finally able to win a World Series. Bobby Allison was able to win a NASCAR championship after 18 years. Hell, even Ray Bork was able to win a Stanley Cup after 22 years. Hell, the St. Louis Blues were able to finally win a cup after 52 years. And the Washington Capitals were able to win a Stanley Cup too after 44 years. And hell, even teams, the Milwaukee Bucks were able to win a championship after losing for almost 50 years. And hell, Even the Philadelphia Eagles were able to win a Super Bowl after 60 years of waiting. I mean, it's for the love of God, Hamlin's bound to win one soon, right? Or is this another painful chapter to Hamlin's legacy of failure? A lot of that will be told this Sunday. Alright now, so we've gone through all 4 drivers in the Final Four. And you look at this Final Four, it's pretty evenly stacked. Like, you can make a solid argument for all 4. But of course, you know, the Final Four set. And of course, we all know this one. It's, of course, for these 4 drivers, it's 4 drivers that are not very liked by a lot of fans for their own reasons. So, and of course, it's Hendrick Motorsports versus Joe Gibbs Racing for the championship. The 2 most hated teams in the sport. And we're guaranteed that one of the 2 most hated teams in the sport is going to walk away with a champion regardless of what happens. Either Hendrick Motorsports wins their record 14th championship, or Joe Gibbs Racing gets one up on Big Brother and wins their 6th title. For HMS and JGR haters, it doesn't matter who wins this championship. Everybody loses. If you're not a HMS and JGR fan, everybody loses. Because this rivalry is NASCAR's equivalent of Yankees-Red Sox. So in other words, for non-HMS and JGR fans, this is your fuck 2021 edition. Somehow, though, I feel like this is going to end up being NASCAR's version of Cleveland versus Golden State for the next 5 years. So, of course, you look at all 4 drivers, they're all evenly stacked on these kind of races on the 750 ovals. But, you know, you can make a solid argument for all 4 to win the champion. And I'll be honest here, out of all 4 would easily be deserving champions overall. But, of course, you know, we all know one thing for sure. Larson's been fast everywhere, no matter what. And it don't matter if this is Larson's first trip and his lack of experience in these kind of situations. You know, Larson's been in all kind of winner-take-all races and dirt and all that. So Larson, which will make up for it and even out. So yeah, we all know damn well this is Larson's championship to lose. And we all know that Larson's championship will produce a lot of fucking SJW salt. That would last us at least 5 lifetimes. But of course, if we know anything from this format, it's that usually the best driver all season does not end up winning the championship in the end. So I think this Sunday, I think it's time we prepare for the worst case scenario. Because I have a feeling that all the records Larson has set this year at HMS and this season, it all ain't gonna mean a damn thing if he won't win that ring. And I feel like everything Larson's done this year, all the records he's set, all the wins, all the speed, all of that, I think it's gonna add up to Denny Hamlin winning his first championship because life is fucking bullshit. So Denny Hamlin wins the championship and will finally win that title that has eluded him his entire career. He will finally complete his Ash Ketchum arc, and Denny Hamlin will finally end his legacy of failure after 16 years. And of course, Chase Elliott and HMS fans will be salty as hell and will cry over the streets, as Denny Hamlin will win the damn war. May God help us all, and congrats to your 2021 Cup Series champion, Kyle Larson.